Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is the closing bell for Friday, February 11th, 2022. The weekend is here. We are just a couple days away from the Super Bowl. Bengals and Rams. Rams currently -4 under over 48.5. 5,000 props to go through. Myself and Scott tomorrow afternoon, early evening, we'll have a separate show. We'll break through the game itself. ECSI currently holding a Rams plus 210 future. So haven't decided which way to go on the other side there. Let it ride. Take the Bengals plus 4.5 or 4 and hope for a Rams 1, 2, 3 point win. Have some decent props. I've talked to a handful of our colleagues out in Vegas, and they've sent me some crazy information where they're leaning, some big tickets that they're holding as well. So earlier today at 2 o'clock, the midday market report with Riley Magnuson from Talking the Line. And amazing hour. I blinked and I was like, holy crap. And we just went through the market, from the NBA trade deadline to what's going on to Big Ten to Super Bowl, and now we're here. So it's kind of a small slate tonight. I don't know if it's Super Bowl weekend. They're holding back to Saturday and Sunday. Not a lot has caught our eye personally right now. But I'm interested to see what Scott has to say. The NBA favorites since last Saturday are on like a 34-6 one. So if you've been betting the NBA and you've been betting favorites, you've had a great run. But that's usually not what I do here for the most part. But without further ado, let me bring in my co-host from the Palm Tree State himself, the one, the only, Mr. Scott E. Webb. Afternoon, Scott.
Good afternoon, Jeff. How are you today?
Usually Fridays have been great boards, and I really excited, and always have a handful of games, leans. Yesterday, let me beat myself up yesterday first. The ECSI VIPs went 1-2. We cash on Georgia State, box to wire there, and then we tried to get cute with an over that opened at 160, closed at 157, and we came up like 4, 5, 6 points short. And I released the Leafs at Calgary. Calgary on a back-to-back. I don't care about back-to-backs. The numbers said the Leafs, and it was 1-1. And then next thing you know, it's 5-1. Thanks for playing. What I'm really pissy about is on the closing bell. I talked about Michigan against Purdue. I talked the fact that if you are playing Michigan, which was the side we suggested, just watch the game early. You'll know which Michigan team showed up, and they went box to wire. They were fabulous. And I talked about the Carolina Hurricanes, the Bruins without Marchand due to a 6-game suspension, Bergeron. The Bruins open up 115 overnight, and you wake up in the morning, Carolina's -140, then it went to 145. And I talked about them on the show, and they won 5-0. But more disappointed on not pulling the trigger with the VIPs on that. But everyone watching and listening here is hearing what I'm talking about at 4:30 as they get closer to the window. That's what we're here for. For the VIPs, I have a spaghetti strainer. I don't release 5, 7, 9 games a night, but I talk about them. We talk the board for a reason, not because we like to see each other and talk. We're trying here to help. We're here to help, educate, put some money in your pocket, start to gain some trust. And, thanks out to Mr. Lucky. He's always retweeting our stuff. He's always talking about it. He's one of our big supporters that's here. Billy Hewlin, Marty Lowe, the Twitch guys. They're here. They're cashing. We're here for a reason, Scott.
Well, part of this is helping people with what they're looking at. I don't know what they're looking at unless they tell me what they're looking at, and then we can kind of go over it. But the point of the matter is that as we talk about things and you talk about stuff or I talk about stuff, the reality becomes I don't know who's listening and what but the thing we're given is straightforwardness. There's no hiding. There's no well, this is what you should do, and then there's no, there's an explanation when we do stuff. So if it helps somebody who's on the fence of a game and they go to the window, that's what these shows are for. And then the more that happens and the more that they kind of understand how things should be done, hopefully we get a following and we get an understanding, and then people start asking questions on different things. But I don't ever imagine I'm going to go out and be the guy that's going to get paid to dance on a table and be the entertainer. I'm not that guy. I may say some silly shit every once in a while, but I'm not going to be the guy that's going to be the pretty boy that's out there running around doing silly stuff that gets people amused, and just not built that way. And part of the closing today will be a little bit of that kind of stuff. But the point of it is that these shows are designed, especially this particular one that we're talking about right now, the Closing Bell Show, is really designed specifically for the idea of helping people get their ideas straight when they walk up to that window. And what is it, 4:30? I mean, the games don't quite start yet, but I mean, that's the idea, is that, hey, if you're on the fence, we're going to give you some tidbits or some nuggets, and you can take them up there. We're going to also tell you what we're on. I was really great yesterday. I took a team that was playing really well, beating everybody by 14 points a game and doing all that stuff. And they played the best team in the NBA and got smashed. And then I'm like, oh, let's play Golden State because they're really good on bounce backs, and this New York team sucks and shit. They can't even beat them. So I went 0-2 yesterday, and but it is what it is. That there was good ideas behind it and good things that go with it. I mean, it's a small board again today, but I found one I can play.
And shout out to Billy Hewlin from Louisiana, great friend, been with me for a long time now, and he's talking about the Bonnies tonight. And he reads the board like I do. We talk on a daily basis about the board, and I'll get into that game specifically. Last year was the Bonnies' run. They had a Cinderella run where I think they had a 16 or 17 game stretch where they covered in a row. And tonight they're playing at St. Louis, a St. Louis team that's been real tricky lately, and they're playing some great ball. And what they did is they opened up St. Louis -7 for a reason. And it's down to 5 or 5.5, but they're showing like 73% of the tickets, 76% of the money on St. Louis. And you and I will talk on pregame about that. I'm calling foul here. That's exactly what I'm going to do, because I know St. Bonnie's. I know they're following. I know they're a big public team. I find it hard to believe that there's 76% of this money coming in on St. Louis and the lines dropping. If I was a betting man, I would say that you would have exact opposite information on that game.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. Let me get over there.
I know I'm throwing you a curveball. We're taking you to the NBA. He just reached out, and I just wanted to address this one quickly.
Yeah. No worries. What's the game number?
Rotation number 889, 890.
Yeah, there it is. So let's see. They're showing UConn and Xavier as the heaviest bet game. This is the second heaviest bet game of the night. We're showing 77% of the money, 75% of the tickets on St. Louis.
And the lines dropped to 5.5. Billy, great eyes. Listen, and I know that's a play on the Bonnies. I just smell something here, because I think the number should be the exact opposite. I know where the Bonnies are publicly, and especially on a Friday payday. But we'll get into that. Let Scott take the hardwood first. We'll get back to that. We'll circle the wagons, even though the Bills aren't in the Super Bowl. How's that? All yours, Scotty.
Yeah, well, in the NBA today, I really didn't find a whole lot of value in some of these teams. are playing the first games after the trade deadline and stuff. So it's kind of tricky waters out there. So the one game that I decided that I thought was a good value is Minnesota plays at Chicago tonight, and the number right now is Chicago -3. And my number is 3.5, which isn't much difference. I wouldn't normally bet this game, but what I'm betting on here is there's a couple of things. This is the third game in 4 nights for Minnesota. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to play poorly. But it is their third game in 4 nights. But 2 of those games were the back-to-back games in Sacramento for whatever the hell that was all about. So then they had a day off and a travel, and now they're here. So this is the third game in 4 nights. But they've got a couple of banged up players, and if any one of these guys doesn't play, then that makes them very weak. And we're talking about Edwards, Russell, and Beverly here. These guys are all listed as game time decisions, questionable to even play the game. And each one of them has a different ailment, and their injuries, they're not like rest days. So they're actually banged up. And they're going to be playing a team in Chicago who's actually been playing pretty well. So I like that idea. And then, I've been talking a little bit about learning from what you've been doing and what's going on so that you can get stronger. Well, one of the things that I think that is tracking pretty well right now in the NBA is strength of schedule over the last couple of weeks. So in the last 5 days, I look at these in 2 different ways, the last 5 days and the last 2 weeks. But in the last 5 days, Minnesota has played the 29th easiest schedule. So there's only 30 teams. So their data numbers are pretty inflated. And when you start to match that up and you start to look at it, Chicago's played the 7th toughest schedule. So they played some pretty good teams. Minnesota's played nobody. So I can see the idea where people might jump on bandwagon of Minnesota and go, holy crap, they're scoring 8 million points. Okay, well, you can score 8 million points every time you play nobodies. So I like the idea here that I think Chicago is a little bit of a surprise, not a surprise, but a little sneaky favorite. So I put some money on Chicago -3 today for those reasons.
I'm glad you pulled up that game. I saw something this morning. I saw it this afternoon, and obviously Riley from the Windy City, we talked about it, is definitely the largest over-under of the year posted. 241. What's your number say?
My number comes out 240.5.
I mean, listen, I'm not a great totals guy. I've had not a lot of success with them. We started to get on a nice little run, I'd like to say, finding some totals in college hoops of late. We lost last night, of course. But when I see a total that looks like, whoa, it opens up my eyes. I mean, look, you got a 209, a 215, a 224, a 217, a 232, and a 220. And I know last year there were stretches where, listen, they were putting these things near 250. Okay. Am I crazy to say that, they're begging you to take the under and the overs to play there?
No, yeah. I mean, I don't think that's the wrong side. So the way my numbers come out is the home and away numbers are based on the whole season. So the whole season numbers comes out to 233. But the way they've been playing over the last 2 weeks, it's 255. Okay. So then you sort of run an algorithm to make the number come out to where you need it, not need it to, but where the weighting mechanisms have to be right. So that's how it comes out to 240.5. But the truth of the matter is, if you just went back over the last 2 weeks, these teams are going to go flying over that number. They're going to fly over the number. But I'm going to not go that direction. I'm just going to take Chicago because I think they're going to beat them.
Scotty on the Bulls. I think the ECSI VIP might be diving into the NBA for that over. That over looked like, wow, are you kidding me? And then so you're 255 with your 233, get you basically a 240 in the middle, correct?
Yeah, in that neighborhood. What happens is that I got a little more weighting on the home and away numbers on a regular basis, and then influence those numbers with what they've been doing over the last couple of weeks, and that's what jumps that number from 233 up to 240 and a half. Or you can look at it from the other side and say, hey, what they've been doing for the last 2 weeks isn't necessarily what they've been doing for the whole season. But it's just like I tell you in baseball all the time, who gives a shit what they did back in May when it's August, for God's sakes. It's what they're doing now that matters. And if they're going to, and that number is 250, what did I say? 254, 255. I got 255 as a total for the last 2 weeks.
Anyone listen, want some pizza and beer? Take the over 241 in that game. I think we'll be having that. I think I'll be on that myself. So, meaning the ECSI VIPs. College is not a big slate. I'm going to go over it again. There's not a lot that jump out to me. Billy pointed out the game that really does jump out to me, and I don't trust it, but I'll get to that anyways. Let's see here. Rotation number 871, 872, Kent at Akron. Akron opened up at 3 and it's still 3. It's a 2.5 actually at Westgate, Southgate, and Caesars. South Point, I'm sorry, and Caesars. 58% of the bets, 80% of the money coming in on Kent State. We were cashed with Akron last week, I think it was. So I'm not, again, that game does nothing for us. Ryder at St. Pete.
Hey, Jeff, this show's different here, so you might be a little more interested.
Okay.
This is showing Akron getting 62% of the money and 59% of the tickets.
So if that was the case, there'd be reverse line movement on Kent State. So keep an eye on Kent State plus the 2.5 or 3 where you shop. Probably get them around plus 122 on the money line for some pizza and beer there. Ryder at St. Pete, 873, 874 on the rotation number. St. Pete opened at 8.5. Is a flat 8 at Circa, 7.5 across the Vegas Strip. I'm showing 52% of the bets, 84% of the money on St. Pete.
This is showing 67% of the money is on St. Peter's and 64% of the tickets are on Ryder.
I mean, it's moving towards Ryder. St. Pete's been pretty good. Last year they had a nice little run. We cashed a few St. Pete tickets last year. I think I've gone to the well with them 3 times this year. I think we're 2-1. I guess keep an eye on Ryder plus the 8 maybe. I'm not too enthusiastic with either side. I know Ryder, you could be up 5, go to the restroom, go make a couple sandwiches, come back, and they'll be down 10. So it's just they're a frustrating team there. Monmouth at Manhattan, rotation number 875, 876. Monmouth opened up at 5.5, now 5. I'm showing 69% of the bets, 57% of the money on the Manhattan Jaspers.
Well, this is showing 51% of the money, 55% of the tickets on Manhattan. But this is the second lowest bet game, only $16,000.
Yeah, again, Manhattan is a troublesome team. They're offensively challenged. They run slow sets. They're not a fun team to back. And now you're facing a Monmouth team who likes to go up and down. I mean, the under-over opened at 140, and it's at 141.5. I'm staying away. So, all right, here's the one I just can't figure out. Rotation number 877, 878, UConn at Xavier. I mean, everyone here knows the story. I'm a season ticket holder. My daughter's wrapping up her 5th and final year at UConn. I'll be going up there probably Tuesday and Saturday. Well, I don't know. They got 3 games at home coming up, and I know on the 22nd it's at the XL Center against Villanova. That's why I got these tickets, but that's a long story. But with that said, they play St. John's on Sunday. Xavier opened up a 1-point favorite, now 1.5-point favorite, 52% of the bets, 61% of the money on the UConn Huskies. Everyone here knows this. The golden number for UConn is 80. If they score 80 points, they're going to win 9 out of 10 times. The under over on this game is currently one. It opened at 140 and a half. Now is at 139 or even 138 at Westgate. It's an Xavier number. Okay. Unless UConn can get into the 70, I'm comfortable with them 76, 78, and 80. Something smells. Xavier's lost 3 in a row. They need this win desperately, just like UConn. They're a desperate team. My heart says UConn. I guess my head would slightly lean Xavier. I'm staying the hell away from this game, Scott.
Well, this is the number 1 bet game of the night. $109,000 bet on this one. Well, in the college game. I mean, there's some games in the NBA already over that number, but this is showing 50% of the money on Xavier and 60% of the tickets on UConn.
So the sharper, heavier money coming on in Xavier. I said this on the show, and I'm going to say it right now. Anyone watching and listening, okay, go to your app, go to your sports book, okay? The winner of the Big East regular season is going to be Villanova or Providence, unless someone crashes and burns, okay? If you take it a step further and go to the Big East tournament, Villanova is the favorite at 140. UConn is the second favorite at plus 500. Do yourself a favor. Go grab the plus 500 pizza and beer, quarter unit, whatever you feel comfortable. Listen, the Big East, it's Villanova and Providence, and then it's even Marquette. Vegas has the second favorite at UConn for a reason. Okay, they're telling you who they think the second best team is in the conference. We're not talking regular season here. We're talking the Big East tournament. Okay, and right now Providence and Marquette are playing better than UConn. Then obviously Nova is. So this game, I'm staying away. I'm rooting the hell out of for UConn. Obviously, listen, they lose to Xavier, then they got to go to St. John's on Super Bowl Sunday. It's not going to be pleasant. Trust me on that one. They got to stretch back at home with Seton Hall, Xavier, then Nova. So you kind of got to take care of business here. So rotation number 883, 884. I'm gonna go over to Don Best for a second here. Detroit's at Youngstown State. Youngstown State is 15-10. Detroit's 10-11. Okay. 67% of the bets, 55% of the money on Youngstown State. They opened at 1, now 1.5. What do you have, Scott?
I got 53% of the money on Detroit, 77% of the tickets on Youngstown.
I'm telling you guys, I would definitely be all over Detroit here. Again, 15-10 versus a 10-11. Opened up as a 1-point favorite. I would definitely lean Detroit Rock City tonight, plus the 1.5. You're probably getting around plus 108 on the money line. All right, Billy Hewlin, grab your pen, grab your paper. Rotation number 889, 890. The Bonnies at St. Louis. St. Louis 17-6. The Bonnies 13-7. St. Louis opened at 7, now 5.5 at Circa, 5 at Westgate. 74% of the bets, 79% of the money are on St. Louis.
Yeah, I got 76% of the money, 75% of the tickets on St. Louis.
All right, the way we read the board is strong reverse line movement coming in on the Bonnies. You can grab them right now, plus 5.5, probably grab them around plus 135, 140 on the money line there. So keep an eye on the Bonnies. Anyone with any questions, send me a DM at EC Sports Invest. I skipped one here. 887, 888, 9 p.m. tip-off. Nevada's at Utah State. This Nevada team has just been bad this year. Utah State team that got us the other day up 2, and Wyoming ties it at the buzzer, and then Wyoming beats them at the buzzer in OT. They're looking for a bounce back. Perfect spot for them. Utah State opened up at 2.5, now 11. 60% of the bets, 63% of the money on Nevada.
Yeah, this shows different. This shows Utah State getting 59% of the money and 65% of the tickets.
So there's some reverse line movement on Nevada for all you RLM players. Go to the last two games, 893, 894, Fresno State at Colorado State. Uh, Colorado State opened up at 6 and is a flat 6 across the Vegas Strip, other than at South Point. Friends, good afternoon, Mr. Andrews and Mr. Vaccaro and the boys at Beeson. 60% of the bets, 76% of the money on Colorado State. So it's been a line freeze or a little reverse line movement on Fresno State.
I'm showing 60% of the money, 54, now just changed 55% of the tickets on Colorado State. So not quite as high.
Keep an eye on Fresno State. Listen, Colorado State's been a juggernaut this year, and they're back home. So again, Colorado State, tough place to play. Fresno State's been doing okay. 16-7 versus 18-3. That's a lot of points. That's why the line freeze. I have slight lean on Fresno State there. And last but not least, 11 o'clock. Rotation number 895, 896. UNLV at Boise State, a game that opened up at 8 is now 8.5. I'm showing 54% of the bets, 63% of the money on the running Rebels of UNLV.
Yeah, I'm showing 65% of the money, 58% of the tickets on Boise State.
I think UNLV's a live dog here, guys. Again, they're a Jekyll and Hyde team. You'll know early. I'm not telling you to run to the window and hammer UNLV. Boise State currently 18-3. Actually, no, I'm sorry. 18-5. UNLV 14-10. I do remember a couple of weeks ago, UNLV was 15-point underdogs and they won outright on the road. So you'll know early. So if you're up late and looking for some action and you grabbed UNLV plus 8.5 or 9 and first flash is 15-5, well, you probably got the wrong UNLV team. But like Michigan, like I said yesterday on that game, stay close to it. I'm not here to preach about in-game betting. I don't want people to get me confused. I'm not a fan of it. Listen, I make pre-flop suggestions and investments. I'm not that guy that's going to be running into the first, second, and third quarters or half times or whatever to try to get out, because I'll take the loss and move on. But if you have opportunities, to hedge and get out, and that's your cup of tea, then go ahead and do it. NHL, Winnipeg at Dallas, rotation number 45-46. Dallas opened at 145, still currently at 145. 68% of the bets, 56% of the money on Dallas, Scott.
I'm showing much higher. 90% of the cash and 90% of the tickets on Dallas.
Yeah, I'd stay away there. Here's the Edmonton fired their coach. Now it's almost like a fable. Once you fire your coach in all sports, you go on that team the next day, the next game. Sometimes these coaches get on runs. Islanders were good to us earlier this week. They've had a day off. Here we go now. Rotation number 47-48. Islanders at Edmonton. Edmonton opened up minus 145, now minus 139. 52% of the bets are on the Islanders, 63% of the money on Edmonton.
Yeah, I'm showing 69% of the money on Edmonton, 54% of the tickets on Edmonton.
I mean, in that case, there's reverse line movement on the Islanders. I think it's great value on the Islanders. Am I playing the Islanders tonight? No, I'm not. If I were to play the game, I would lean Edmonton just on the coach, maybe a little shake up there. They're playing ugly. They don't have good goaltending. So we went against them earlier this week and beat them. I'm not touching the game. Just remind yourself, again, reverse line movement on the Islanders. Edmonton, new coach. Tampa, Arizona, thanks, but no thanks. And last game, Kraken against Anaheim, rotation number 51-52. The Ducks opened at minus 150, now minus 151.
Yeah, I'm showing 93% of the money, 95% of the tickets on Anaheim.
Yeah, it's a game I'd staying away. Um, Again, short board. Yeah. Any questions, comments, concerns? Reach out to myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, Scotty at Webby20MLB. You can always email us again at East Coast Sports Investors at gmail.com. And we will get to any questions, comments, concerns that you do have. But we've come to that part of the show. Webby's words of wisdom.
Yeah, well, today I cover a topic that I'm going to call the cost of success, because I think that most people in life don't understand that there is a cost associated to being successful and what that cost is. And an Elon Musk quote that came across the table says, I've never actually read any books on time management. I thought that was great, because in life or in any other business world, that's one of the things they teach you, is to try to manage your time appropriately. And then here we have this guy out here doing all these things without never even trying to have his time managed, because he understands the cost of success, meaning that, you have late nights, you have early mornings, you don't have a bunch of friends, you have few friends. You're often being misunderstood. A lot of times feel overwhelmed with what's on your plate. And you have to be your own cheerleader all the time. So when you start talking about the cost of success, you must be able to play in the lane of being alone. That doesn't mean that you don't have supporters. It just means you have to be comfortable in your own environment, doing things in your way. So you just have to get to a point where that part of it is comfortable to you. Success usually requires sacrifice, but that sacrifice isn't, like cut off your arm to be successful. It's the success from the normal person in the normal routine of life. You have to adapt to that. You have to make those changes and get your life to understand what that cost association is. We just talked about, being misunderstood and being up all night, or being up early in the morning, working on very little sleep, things like that. So to make this work, your purpose must be large enough. Your goals must be large enough to inspire you and keep you going and focus on yourself. Otherwise, you're going to give up. So you can't give up. But you also have to dream big. You have to have a big plan. And then when you go out there, you manage your time wisely. You do the things that are necessary to put only the right thoughts in your mind. And then when you make your plan, execute your plan. So in our world, in the sports world, in the betting world, it's the same kind of thing. But I guarantee you this, and Jeff can attest to this, it's a lonely business, guys. And we're out here doing the research and doing the data numbers and crunching things morning after morning, night after night, routine after routine. You have to tweak that stuff. You have to make the stuff come out better. You have to look at the boards over and over and over and over and over again. And that can get very mundane and monotonous and be in a point where it's actually pretty damn boring. But at the same time, the trade-off is great. When you can beat the sports book and you can go in and say, hey, I came up with numbers and did this or did that, and it's much more successful. There's a monetary value behind that too. So, you got long days in this business. What was it? Just a couple weekends ago, there was 150 college basketball games. So you got to get to a point where you understand exactly what you're doing and where you're at and where you're going with this. And you got to spend your time doing the right things. Lots of research, lots of partnering with people that, you hear Jeff talk about a lot, calling colleagues and doing different things. That's called networking. So you got to do a lot of networking with people. You have to learn from what's going on around you and be open-minded to those things and understand that there is a cost associated to being successful. And it's all the behind stuff. I was just watching a thing about pitching the other day, and when you're a pitcher, then the Driveline Academy where they go, it's a lot about technique and a little of this and a little of that. all for it to get to the pitch to be a 2, 3, 4, 5 miles an hour faster, or the ball to move a little bit more. But that makes it so when you're on the mound for the game, the actual time when it counts, all the stuff you've done pre-work to that makes that so that the ball does what you want it to do, and you're way more effective. It's the same thing what we're talking about. You must get to a point where you're doing the things that make yourself more effective, and don't misunderstand that you must adapt to understanding that success has a cost, and you're going to have to be that person that pays it, and then enjoy that cost, because that's what your life is about.
I've said this story a long, long time ago. We're in the start of our 7th year at ECSA public service. And so a year prior to us going public, I went down and talked to a friend about my idea and my venture, and where I think sports wagering was going and where it will be, yada, yada, yada. So he was my first investor. And the first words out of his mouth: if you don't have tough skin, don't even start this. And for 25 years of experience up to it, listen, I'd lose a bazillion more than I would win, and it was more of a game. It was just like running, from A to B to C to D, bobbing and weaving. Where again, leading up to this, I was working with companies to learn how and why. Again, the numbers that Vegas come up with fascinate me. Your work fascinates me. People's work in the field fascinates me. And now this was 8 years ago. Now, in the past 8 years, there's more websites, there's more people on social media, there's a lot more information. When I first started with my first 2 services in Boston in the late 80s, early 90s, there was no cell phones. There was no internet. there was 5 newspapers a day. That's what I was looking at. And you know what? You couldn't get the West Coast scores. It's just amazing where we've come. So what you said, the lonely, it is real damn lonely out here. It is. And I know a lot of people like to look at it and the glitz and glamour, go to Vegas, especially at night, the bright lights, but it's not that. It really isn't. You talked about last Saturday, there was 158 college games. I think we played 7 games. I think that's what we played. We didn't even play 10% of the board. Our buddy Billy, he said he had 15 games on the board. I says, Billy, if you played all 15, I'd be proud of you, because you just played 10% of the board. That was it. And we joked about it, but it's not what it's cracked up to be. Tough skin is definitely something that one of the qualities you need. But you talked about the loneliness, and I'll close with this. I talk more to my dog in a week. I have a wife. I have 2 daughters. Okay. I had 2 cats that are no longer with me. Or I'd say the cats too. Between home, office, on the road, the dog doesn't leave my side. The point is, we're locked behind these screens and following numbers, crunching numbers, doing databases, algorithms, and everything. Then it is, at 4:44, I usually hear the car door come in at your house. I hear the dogs bark. I know your wife's just coming home. I can hear it. And so you understand this. I understand this. But a lot of people only see the bright lights and glitter.
Yeah, but I think that's the same thing with life. I mean, people have to understand that if you want to be successful, that's on you. And I liked the idea that Elon Musk said, hey, I don't have any understanding of time management books. I don't go out and read them. I don't need them. I go do what I need to do to have my life be what my life is. And I think that's the thing, right? I mean, that's where you have to go and say, shit, I get it. This is the roadmap. Now I'm on the map. Let's go down the road. And they're not going to be all fun and glitzy, glamorous road. But the end, when you get to the end of the road, holy shit, Jeff, that's when you're in Vegas and the lights are on and you're having a blast and all the fun stuff goes on. That's when the payoff happens. It's all the other stuff that gets there. It's the guy on the mound that throws 100 miles an hour. Well, I mean, he don't get to throw 100-mile-an-hour just waking up and walking out there and just picking up a ball and throws it. He's got to have technique, and he's got to have different things that make that ball do what it needs to do. So I just think that it's a forgotten thought. And at the same time that it's a forgotten thought, it's something that everybody should really think about.
And in your life, the middle school, the high school, the AAU, the college, the Cape League, the minor leagues, the bus trips, and then the call up, and then the walk up the ramp. I still, every time, game I go every year to Fenway, when I walk up that ramp and I see the green monster, the hair rises on the back of my head. I remember that as a kid, the very first time I saw it. And every year when I see that, it just, I get the chills, and the same thing for me. I'm within 10 minutes of 3 Cape League teams. So there's not a week that we don't go to 2 or 3 Cape League games just to watch the kids. I've seen a lot of these stars, the Mo Vaughns of the world, the Clemens. The list is endless that have been down here, the Bagwells and the Biggios. And right there, I mean, there's, the start of the season, Scotty, there's probably 800 or 1,000 people. During the playoffs, maybe you get 2, 3, 4,000, but that's baseball. That's where it all started, and they're within a whisker of the next step, and that's when all the work pays off.
Yeah, I think that when you're a true baseball fan, you can go watch baseball anywhere, whether it's great baseball, not great baseball. You know what you're watching, and you're rooting for the kids to do well. And it's just like watching the KBO, right? It's not great baseball, but it's fun to watch because it's baseball, for God's sakes. And I remember when I was living in Savannah, Georgia, and I went and watched a team called the Savannah Sand Gnats, and they were a Los Angeles Dodgers farm team. And I went there and I was like, I want to go watch the kids play. And I walked out there, and Tommy Lasorda was in the stands, and he was out there watching these kids play. And I was like, holy shit, Tommy Lasorda's here watching these kids. And I remember going, I remember this, back in the day when I was playing. I mean, it's a long time ago now, but I mean, back in the day, and all this stuff was going on. And I'm like, this is when it was fun. And then I remember going, when I was younger than actually playing at that level, traveling around a little bit, I remember playing in venues that were nicer than this damn place. So I was like, well, I guess it is what it is, right? You get a couple hundred people show up to these games and whatever, but that's what it's about. I don't want to call it paying your dues, but it's about, that's what the cost of success looks like. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the behind the scenes stuff. And if you don't adapt to understanding that's the roadmap to life, you're never going to get there. I mean, sure, I guess you could wake up and get lucky or go marry somebody that's already paid the price or whatever it is, whatever it is, but it is what it is, I suppose.
All righty. So tomorrow morning, myself and Scott will start the day. We'll break down I'll break down the early menu for the college hoops. Scotty will throw in any nuggets if we have some NBA nuggets. Late tomorrow afternoon, early evening, we'll put it up on our timelines. We're going to break down the Super Bowl, go over some props, give you some final thoughts to lead you up to Sunday's game. So for tonight, everyone, always, always, always wager and invest responsibly. If you have a problem, pick up that phone. There's an 800 number available. Ask for help. Why? Because myself and Scott would like you here today, tomorrow, next week, next month, through 2022 and beyond. For myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from Scotty Webb at Webby20MLB, we wish everyone a blessed evening. Cash some tickets, have some fun, and we'll see you in the morning.